It was just another day in the life of Elon Musk. The billionaire entrepreneur had just finished a long meeting at Tesla headquarters, his mind buzzing with ideas for the next big innovation. As he stepped out of the building, the California sun casting long shadows across the parking lot, he climbed into the back seat of his sleek black sedan. The car started smoothly, and the familiar hum of the electric engine filled the air. But something felt different today. Maybe it was the way the driver adjusted the rearview mirror, or maybe it was the quiet confidence in the way he handled the wheel. Whatever it was, Elon didn't think much of it. At first, as they drove through the bustling streets of Palo Alto, Elon glanced out the window, watching the world go by. People hurried along sidewalks, their faces glowing from smartphone screens. Others sat on benches, some chatting animatedly, while others seemed lost in thought. It was then that Elon noticed something unusual. A man huddled near a street corner, clutching a cardboard sign that read "Anything helps." Elon frowned slightly, turning his gaze back to the front of the car. He knew poverty existed even in Silicon Valley, where tech giants ruled and dreams turned into reality every day. But somehow, seeing it up close always struck a chord deep within him. Before he could dwell on it further, the driver spoke. "Another tough day out there, huh?" the driver asked softly, his voice carrying a hint of empathy. Elon nodded absently. "Yeah, it's hard not to notice." For a moment, the conversation paused. Then, as if compelled by curiosity, Elon decided to break the silence. "You know," he began, leaning forward slightly, "I've been meaning to ask you something." The driver glanced briefly at him through the rearview mirror, his expression calm but curious. "Sure, what is it? How did you end up driving for me?" Elon asked casually, though his tone carried a subtle edge of intrigue. The driver hesitated, as if weighing whether to answer honestly. Finally, after a brief pause, he replied, "Well, let's just say life took me places I never expected." That response lingered in the air like an unanswered question. Elon leaned back in his seat, sensing there was more to this story than met the eye. Little did he know, uncovering the truth would change both their lives forever. Elon Musk wasn't the kind of person who let his guard down easily. Born into a world where success demanded relentless focus, he had spent decades building empires that redefined industries. From SpaceX to Tesla, Neuralink to the Boring Company, his name was synonymous with innovation and ambition. But despite his towering achievements, Elon carried a side of him few people saw, a side driven by empathy and a desire to make the world better. The driver, whose name was Marcus, seemed like just another face in the crowd at first glance. Tall, with dark hair streaked with gray, he handled the car with precision, navigating through Silicon Valley's chaotic traffic without missing a beat. To most, Marcus appeared ordinary, maybe even unremarkable, but Elon had always believed that appearances could be deceiving. As the sedan glided past rows of luxury homes and tech campuses, Elon found himself drawn to Marcus's demeanor. There was something about the way he spoke, the way he carried himself, that hinted at a deeper story. And so, during their rides together, Elon began asking questions, not out of nosiness, but out of genuine curiosity. "Marcus," Elon said one day, breaking the usual silence between them, "you've been driving for me for over 6 months now. I feel like I barely know anything about you." Marcus chuckled softly, keeping his eyes on the road. "There's not much to tell, Mr. Musk. Just a guy trying to get by." But Elon wasn't satisfied with that answer. He pressed on gently. "Everyone has a story, Marcus. What brought you here? Where did you come from?" This time, Marcus hesitated longer than before. His knuckles whitened slightly as he gripped the steering wheel, and for a moment, it seemed like he might change the subject altogether. Instead, he exhaled slowly and began to speak. "I grew up in Detroit," Marcus started, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "Back when cars were king and factories ran 24/7. My dad worked at one of those plants assembling engines for GM. Mom stayed home, raised us kids. Life wasn't easy, but we made do." He paused, staring straight ahead as if lost in thought. Then came the recession. Plants closed, jobs disappeared. Overnight, everything changed. I lost my job, then our house. Things spiraled fast after that. Elon listened intently, feeling a pang of sympathy. He knew all too well how fragile life could be, no matter how successful someone appeared on the surface. What happened next? Elon asked quietly, sensing there was more to the story. Marcus took a deep breath. I ended up homeless, sleeping in shelters, under bridges, wherever I could find shelter. It was rough, man. You don't realize how invisible you become until you're living on the streets. People walk right past you like you don't exist. Elon sat back, processing what he'd heard. Here was a man who had faced unimaginable hardship, yet still managed to keep going. But what intrigued Elon most was how Marcus had gone from homelessness to becoming his personal driver. That question burned in the back of his mind, demanding an answer. Over the following weeks, Elon couldn't shake off the weight of Marcus's story. Every time they rode together, he found himself wondering about the details Marcus hadn't shared, the struggles, the sacrifices, and the sheer determination it must have taken to rise from homelessness to driving for one of the world's most influential figures. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Elon decided to dig deeper. Marcus, he began, his tone steady but curious. How did you manage to turn things around? How did you go from sleeping under bridges to driving for me? Marcus hesitated, gripping the wheel a little tighter. For a moment, the car was filled with silence except for the soft hum of the electric engine. Finally, he spoke. It wasn't easy, Marcus admitted. There were days when I thought I'd never get out of that hole. But I made a promise to myself to keep moving forward, no matter what. He paused, collecting his thoughts before continuing. I started small, cleaning garages, washing cars, anything to earn a few bucks. Then I saved enough to take some driving lessons, got my license, worked odd jobs, and eventually landed a gig driving for a ride-sharing service. Elon nodded, impressed by the resilience in Marcus's voice. And then came the big break, Marcus said with a faint smile. A friend of mine heard about an opening with your company. They needed drivers who could handle long hours and tough schedules. I applied, passed the tests, and here I am. But even as Marcus recounted his journey, there was something in his tone, a subtle undertone of unease, that suggested there was more to the story. Elon picked up on it immediately. You didn't tell me everything, did you? Elon asked gently, leaning forward slightly. Marcus sighed, his shoulders sagging, as if the weight of years' worth of secrets had suddenly become too heavy to bear. No, Mr. Musk, there's more, something I've kept hidden because I didn't want anyone to look at me differently. What is it? Elon pressed, his curiosity piqued. Marcus took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly on the wheel. The truth is, I'm still homeless. I haven't been able to afford a place since I started this job. I sleep in my car most nights, parked in different spots around the city so no one notices. It's not ideal, but it beats living on the streets. Elon felt a lump form in his throat. Here was a man who had clawed his way back from rock bottom, only to find himself trapped in a cycle of survival once again. And yet, despite everything, Marcus carried himself with dignity and grace, never asking for help or pity. As the car rolled to a stop outside Elon's mansion, Marcus turned to face him, his expression a mix of vulnerability and resolve. I don't expect anything, Mr. Musk. I just wanted you to know the truth. Elon stared at him for a long moment, his mind racing with possibilities. He knew he couldn't ignore what he'd just learned, not when it struck so close to home. But how could he help without overstepping boundaries? How could he ensure Marcus's pride remained intact while offering him the support he clearly needed? Elon sat quietly in the back seat, his mind racing as Marcus waited for a response. The silence stretched on, heavy with unspoken emotions. Finally, Elon broke it. Marcus, he began, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable weight. You've shown more strength and resilience than most people I know. What you've achieved against all odds is nothing short of remarkable. Marcus blinked, clearly surprised by the praise. Thank you, Mr. Musk. But I'm just doing what I have to do. Elon shook his head slightly. No, Marcus, you're doing far more than that. You're proving every day that circumstances don't define who we are, that our choices do. He paused, leaning forward slightly. But I also believe that sometimes, even the strongest among us need a helping hand, and if anyone deserves one, it's you. Marcus stiffened, his hands tightening on the wheel again. I appreciate the thought, sir, but I don't want charity. I built this life on my own 2 feet, and I'll keep doing so. Elon nodded understandingly. It's not about charity, Marcus. It's about partnership, about giving someone the tools they need to thrive instead of just survive. Before Marcus could respond, Elon continued, "Here's what I propose. I'll set you up with a place to live, a small apartment close to work. Nothing extravagant, just somewhere comfortable where you can rest without worrying about being discovered or displaced. In return, I'd like you to continue driving for me, but also take on some additional responsibilities within the company." Marcus stared at him, disbelief etched across his face. Additional responsibilities? Like what? Elon smiled faintly. "You've already proven yourself to be resourceful and dependable. Imagine what you could achieve if given the chance to contribute in other ways, perhaps mentoring new drivers, managing logistics, or even helping develop programs aimed at supporting others in similar situations." For a moment, Marcus said nothing, processing the offer. Then slowly, a smile spread across his face. "Are you serious, Mr. Musk?" "As serious as space travel," Elon replied, his tone lightening. "Consider it an investment, not just in your future, but in the futures of those who might follow in your footsteps." Over the next few weeks, everything changed for Marcus. He moved into the modest apartment Elon had arranged, finally having a stable home after years of uncertainty. At work, he embraced his expanded role with enthusiasm, quickly earning respect from colleagues and employees alike. His story became an inspiration within the company, sparking conversations about empathy, opportunity, and second chances. One evening, as they drove home from another long day, Marcus turned to Elon with a look of gratitude. "You know, Mr. Musk, I never expected someone like you, a billionaire entrepreneur, to care this much about someone like me." Elon chuckled softly. "People often assume success means losing touch with reality. But I think true success lies in remembering where you came from, and using your position to help others along the way." Marcus nodded, his eyes glistening slightly. "Thanks, Mr. Musk, for believing in me when I barely believed in myself." As the car pulled up to Elon's mansion once again, both men stepped out, their bond stronger than ever. Little did they know, Marcus's journey was only beginning, and it would inspire countless others along the way. As Marcus walked into his new apartment that night, he couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and gratitude. For the first time in years, he had a place to call home, a sanctuary where he could rest, recharge, and dream big once more. And as he looked out the window at the twinkling lights of Silicon Valley, he realized that life truly did have a way of surprising you when you least expected it. Elon Musk's decision to lend a helping hand hadn't just changed Marcus's life, it had reminded him of the power of kindness, empathy, and second chances. It was proof that even the most successful among us can still make room for compassion, and that sometimes, all it takes is one person believing in you to turn your world around. So what would you do if you were in Marcus's shoes? Would you accept help graciously, or would you try to go it alone? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another inspiring story like this one. Because here, we believe that everyone deserves a chance to shine, and sometimes, all it takes is someone willing to give them that opportunity. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, every journey starts with a single step. Thanks for watching.